I know we're just here 48 hours ago, but good week for us, up and down week. South Alabama not really playing how we wanted to, and then Ball State playing how we wanted to. And our eyes are forward, though. You know, you can feel good about it. As soon as we finish film at about 1:30 today, we'll be on to App State. So looking forward to that challenge. I got a lot of respect for Coach Sharp. You can take Presbyterian to the NCAA tournament. You can do almost anything, I feel like. So really excited about that challenge. And, the focus will always be us, and that's what we're gonna take care of the next 2 days.
Coach, what did the film show with Ball State? And were you happy with, again, you mentioned how you responded from the South Alabama game, your kids did. What did the film show? Were you happy with that?
Yeah, our defense in the first half, especially the first quarter, was really very good, elite. And the only thing I'm kicking myself for is I went one too many possessions of zone, and it cost us that 3-pointer, which I'd be sick about right now if we didn't find a way to win the game. But no, our defense was elite, and their offense is elite. So I was really proud of our effort, and we set the bar, right? Our kids set the bar because that's how I'm going to expect them to guard, and that's not how we guarded second half of South Alabama. That's what got me. But no, I thought it was a tremendous example of how we want to be, right? We want to be really good defensively, making you work for everything. We want to be better on the glass than we were, but sharing the ball the way we shared the ball, I thought was another thing that really put us in a position to win the game. And you score 78 points, right? That's unselfish basketball. So those two things really exemplified how we want to play. The trick will be is understanding you don't get anything for that here come Wednesday, right? Like Wednesday, you got to earn all that again, right? That's how those are your habits. That's what you got to do. So I just thought it was almost exactly what I thought it was live. And, we made some mistakes and all that stuff, but for the most part, I was really pleased with our defensive effort.
We've talked a lot about defense and just how much it's been different from a year ago and the players that are helping you do that. But how about the offensive side? And you've been much more efficient in conference games, and even the Ball State game obviously wasn't a conference game, but pretty efficient at sharing the basketball. What's been the biggest key for you guys to be more efficient in conference play offensively?
Yeah, we really got exposed at NC State, and that was the last time I thought we really kind of played selfishly offensively. And I say selfishly is a very modest criticism. Like, it wasn't intentionally like looking at people off or anything like that. It wasn't an intentional selfishness, but it's like a hero ball selfishness, right? Like I'm gonna be the one that makes these 3 threes in a row to bring us back. And it was why we play the game, right? Is that NC State exposed that part. And since then it's not perfect, but we're constantly working on it. Excuse me. But that's what it is. Sharing the ball and making the next right play helps you be more efficient, right? And because you're turning coach talk, but it's good shots into great shots is what the idea is, right? Like, I know we've got talented kids on our team. I know Rose Scott. I know Peyton McDaniel. I know Jamia, right? Can get that shot up. But if I can dribble in and draw Kurt and kick it over there to John, and that's a standstill, uncontested 3, you're going to make that at a higher rate, right? So that's what we're trying – knock down, John. That's what we're trying to do is create that good shot instead of – and I think Ashanti's a good example. Ashanti was missing her threes early on, and it was like, yeah, it's kind of a contested 3. Like, statistically – it goes down 20 to 25 percentage points if it's contested or uncontested. So I think she's doing a better job choosing the right ones for her, right? And obviously going 4 for 4, it's awesome. But they were open, right? And I think the more open shots you can create for your teammates, the more efficient you're going to be. And I do think a little bit of it too, Dave, is just the maturity of the kids, right? And Jamia understanding she's not going to get, I was looking at App State from last year. She has 19 down there. She hasn't had a lot of that for us this year, and that's okay. But she can go 4 for 6, and she understands those 6. Make those 6 really good, right? And make those 6. If I'm driving in and I see you too, and I'm going to drop Anna off over there, that's the right play. And I think the maturity of our group has helped with the efficiency too.
Let's talk about App State. You mentioned their coach, and how different are they from a year ago? And obviously, they're playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, tied for third. The only team to give Ark State a loss, right? Who's in second place. So, we're going to spend a good amount of hours breaking them down today. I've watched 2 games on my Sunday, but she's really good. She is. I was searching for a word for her, and I wanted to say sharp, and I understand that's her last name, but she is sharp, man. They're really good, and they're one of the teams that in the Sun Belt, I'll watch and be like, that was a good little action. Let me write that down and let me use that one, right? So I got a lot of respect for her and what she's done. They are different. They lose Faith Alston and a handful of the kids. Their tempo is not the same as when Angel was there. They were track meet stuff, and a little bit different. But yeah, we're gonna have challenges. I mean, they've got a matchup zone, or I don't know if she'll call it a matchup or whatever she wants to call it. But there'll be some challenges in this one for sure. But very, very different than last year. But I don't mind. Like we lost down there last year, so I think there'll be some. We'll be paying attention, I think. But yeah, I'm good team. They're in third place for a reason.
You mentioned losing down there last year, and school-wide, App State's kind of almost become like the main rivalry. Like, is that something that your program's picked up on, or do the girls have any added juice for this one after losing there last year?
I hope because of the loss. I was a little bit surprised at how juiced up they were for losing to Ball State. Really, because it's not a rivalry. Ball State's not going to be a rival for us, but they were juiced up for that. So I do think I think ODU will always lead us in the rivalry, partly because that's just how I feel, right? But no, I agree with you. I think App State is a big rival. I mean, that was the two. I always get this wrong. FCS programs that were pretty elite on this side, right? Got it, Kurt. And so I think there's certainly a school rivalry with it. I know their men's team's been really good, and they're good. So I don't know if that gets 2 of our kids up. That's awesome. I really. I'm you can have a potpourri of motivation, man. I don't care what gets you going. I don't care if it's me yelling at you. I was having dreams last night. Had to yell at them today. But whatever gets you going, we got to be ready to go because you're just sitting here with huge opportunity, and that's how we got to approach the rest of this one game at a time, and not look any forward more to anybody other than App State.
And could you expand a little bit too about how they're different this year? Obviously with the new coaching staff, but you mentioned Faith Alston too, where they ran so much through her, and she could kind of take over a game last year. Yeah, I mean she was a big focal point last year. But no, they've got the one thing that comes to mind, they've got a stretch 5 center. That's going to be an issue for us, right? We haven't had a lot of people be efficient from 3 at the center position, where it's going to challenge Susha and Anna to get up. Now, we've had some centers hit threes, but she's a perimeter player. They're very balanced. They're very smart. And their matchup zone, you're going to wonder what they're in a lot of the time because it looks like, man, she just passed me off. There's going to be a lot of unpredictability with that too. So yeah, they're just good, man, and they're balanced, and they've got I think it's 4 kids averaging between I think it's 9 and 11, but they're just I keep using Neil's words, but a prickly one. It's a prickly game just because their style of play, and it's not. Angel they played. I mean, I think this team plays hard too, but Angel always had them playing hard. But it was the tempo, and it was driving and kicking, and Emily Carver's in the corner banging 5 threes on us and stuff like that. She's still there. She's still a great shooter. I got a lot of respect for her. I've gotten to know her a little bit through Sun Belt meetings and going down there. But they're good, and that's I hope our team is ready for that level of respect.
Dave was asking you a little bit about offensive efficiency. I'm curious, do you feel like the players this year kind of have a better understanding of their what their role is and what they're asked to do. Maybe not that they didn't understand that in previous years, but I'm just curious, whether there are conversations before the year like this is kind of what we envision for you, or how much was that certain players taking ownership? It just seems like everybody kind of knows what their job is and how they can best contribute.
Yeah, look, I do think they have settled into roles much better than last year. That was part of our problem last year, was we didn't all understand where we fit, and that's always on me, right? But I really don't like, and I learned this from Kenny, is like, I don't like sitting down with Shane and being like, Shane, this is your role. You do this for us. You defend, you rebound, you shoot 2 shots a game. Like, well, what if he's feeling it that day? What if the advantage is with Shane that day and he can shoot 8 shots and make 7 of them? Like, it's in a way, it's like limiting. So I believe in more of the process of understanding where you fit, right? And that's through conversations, but it's not through limits, right? So, no, I do think use Anna Goodman. I think Anna Goodman is very, very capable of being a 25-minute-a-game center, and she's really settling into her backup center role, which I don't think beginning of the year, she's not going to say, I want to be a backup, right? Rose Scott. I think Rose Scott has settled into coming off the bench, where beginning of the year, no chance. That's what she wants to do, right? So I'm not going to sit at the beginning of the year and say, hey, Ro, here's what your role is going to be, because there was opportunity for her to earn that, right? And that's where I think we do have a pretty clear vision of what we are, I think, as a group. I also think the part that helps that is rotationally, like, we're not playing 11, and it's a hodgepodge. The only thing that really changes for us game to game is who finishes, right? We finished a lot of different games with a lot of different, generally P's finishing, generally Susha's finishing, but Shanti's been in and out of there. We finished games with P at the 4. We finished games with Z and Bree yesterday, but we finished games with Ro and Jamia too, right? And so I think for the most part, people are pretty satisfied minutes wise. Most part. But yeah, I think it's a constant battle, right? And any coach in college basketball is going through that with their team, because you're trying to satisfy every one of your players as much as you can, with them buying into those roles too. So, I think there's a lot of examples of it, but I do believe we've shown a great amount of sacrifice and unselfishness this year, more than we had last year, and that's, I think, why we're in the position we're in right now too.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the App State, balanced scoring effort. They have about 3 players averaging 9 to 10 points, 3 averaging 7, 3 averaging 5. So I just want to ask, like, how does the game plan change when it's not maybe one focused player, but rather 9 or so players you have to deal with they're averaging 5+ points?
Sure. No, and I don't know the exact answer yet, right? Because we go back and forth. We usually argue about that for a good amount of time in the coaches' meeting. Is that, are you going to spend your time? You use Ball State, right? Are you going to spend your time making sure Allie Becky doesn't get anything? Right? Nothing. Let's trap her off every ball screen, and now you can hold her to 2 points, but now you're letting Richard run around every trap on a short roll or whatever, right? So what do you want to do? Is it more of a balanced defensive approach where you're hey, look, we're gonna feel this game out when I'm gonna butcher her name, so I'm not gonna say it, but number 20 is rolling around being a stretch 5. You're gonna give some of that up, but how much do we change for them versus, hey, understand who they are, what they want to do, and let's try to lock them down from there, right? Versus we're going to give this kid 10 shots or whatever. We're going to give this kid 10 threes. I think it's more of always focusing on us and understanding it's more balanced than one kid averaging 19 a game, and that's your focal point. But I think that changes game to game with what our kind of defensive game plan will be.
I'm going to go back to the defensive side, and it's easy to see what Bree can do when you're just watching Bree alone. Mm-hmm. But if you are telling fans to see the impact of what she's doing to your team, who should you be watching aside from her when she's out there defending?
Man, it's tough to take your eyes off of Bree's defense, Kurt. No, but I think it's a whole approach. I can go through it, right? I think Peyton's defense has gotten way better, right? For her to come up with that block late in the game, right? But that's what I think. She's the easiest one to see, but I'm gonna use my daughter again, right? But she was only able to be here for the first quarter, and her ERSC teams plays gap defense, and she was like, "Man, I could see your gaps. I could see you guys moving to the gap and to help side." So it's a team kind of effort. I think Zakai is, in my estimation, Zakai and Ashanti are probably our next two best defenders, one-on-one defenders. But Peyton has drastically improved that. Susha has drastically improved her help defense, drastically, and it doesn't show up as block shots because it's just stopping baseline drives. So I think it varies, right? If you're aspiring post player, right? You're a 6'1" kid that's a sophomore at Broadway. Like, watch Susha, watch how she helps, right? And I think that you can learn a lot from that.
I think what my question actually was more of, she's a function of how everybody else is defending. So I asked this of the three players that were here in the post game the other day, how it impacts what they can do defensively, knowing Bree is out front.
I got
and
you.
they were saying just how quickly they could close gaps because they knew how Bree was going to work a screen or something of that sort. So it's the dynamics of what's happening below that defensive front with Bree out front. So that was more what my question was.
Got you.
No worries. No worries.
No, but I agree, right? And we've had to make some concessions for what you're talking about because Bree, we want Bree on Allie Becky, right? So Bree's on Allie Becky, and here comes a screen where we're supposed to be switching that. The game plan was 1 through 3, and then hedging it with her 4s and 5s. But like sometimes she blows it up. Sometimes there is no screen, right? So Susha's ready to be there, and then it's like, oh, I'm still looking at the back of Bree's jersey. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think the other thing is her pressure. We made this very early. Is like she's pressuring the ball so well. Like, and I know we play gap defense, but there's no way the point guard should just be able to have a free outlet, right? So we said, hey, that first pass, you can deny that first pass, right? Or you can, I call it playground football, which is like, I'll explain it. But you guys are going to understand. When I was back playing at 4th grade, right, and you're on the playground, if you stayed with your man real close, they're never going to throw your man the ball, right? So I always tried to let my man drift away a little bit so they threw my man the ball so I can get an interception, right? That's kind of what playground football is, and they know that. But Peyton does that. Peyton's not going to deny and turn her back to the ball, but she's really good at like, okay, I'm watching, and now I can go burst and get that steal. So Bree and Zakai have allowed us to do that, right? Is now you're able to go for a couple more steals. We do have the system in place, so if you do, we still have Susha behind. We call it a smash, right? And we're able to go, but it all starts with Bree and Z too. But it allows us, I think, to take more risks and knowing you have people behind you. And I think anybody that's out here playing as hard as Bree plays and playing as hard as Peyton plays, that also raises the bar too. That if I'm Jamia and I'm looking over at Bree and it's like, man, she's playing hard. Yeah, I don't want to let her down. So I think there's so many different trickle-down effects from it.
You and Coach Sally said that the game on Saturday was the perfect matchup for a Sun Belt MAC rivalry, particularly where you stood in the net rankings. I took a peek at the net rankings yesterday. Did you?
I sure did, Kurt.
And what were your thoughts?
My honest thought, I was upset because we didn't move. And it's okay. I know it's a long process of this whole thing, but no, I was hoping that we would be in the 40s. Now, it ends up being a quad 3 win because where their ranking are, and we're at home, right? They give you more. You're quad 2. If they beat us, it was a quad 2 win. But that part's frustrating. And I was thinking about going on a rant in here, but it's like, no, let's just do what we can do, and then we're going to try to beat App State, and that's it. But for what he's asking, we stayed the exact same, and Ball State went up 2. And I don't quite understand that, but that's okay. And I don't have the formula for the net. I know we did what we could control, which was win the game. So you almost got me on that one. Almost baited me in there.
What did you like about your team, particularly down the stretch against Ball State, kind of tested in a way that you haven't been, and how can you carry that into the rest of the season?
Yeah, I will tell you this. I do think we've been tested in ways like that. But, yeah, I thought when we gave up the 3 and then we had gone a stretch where I think Peyton missed a pretty good look and Shanti missed a pretty good look. It was one of those moments like, man, are we going to be able to pull this out? But that's where our defense has come through for us, right, is that they didn't score again. They didn't score another point. We scored the last 7. So that's where I think this team has really changed. And I love that we're able to do that when it's time to do that. I want to do that all the time, but I understand sometimes it's adrenaline and sometimes it's the moment that gets you a little extra spark. But it was fun to watch down the stretch. And I think, again, we'll just put it in our back pocket and take it with us. Another level of confidence for us.
And Susha obviously got the milestone last game. Can you just talk about how she's adjusted to her role kind of from her first season here into now and how you've seen her grow?
Yeah, I mean, this is the fun part, right, at the end of the road where you get to see all of her growth. That knucklehead shot that 3, though. But still, right, there's been a ton of growth from her, and I think coming from a situation where it wasn't great, and I think she had, like most transfers, they got some trust question marks or maybe issues, you want to call it. I just think she's really settled in with me. We spent a lot of time together in 2.5 years, like a lot of time together. And, you know, I think she has grown. I think her approach with me, understanding where I'm coming from most of the time when I'm coaching her, it's not from a bad place. I'm not trying to pull the rug out from you. I'm not trying to, you know, that's where I think the trust is built over time. And so I was proud of her to get there. She works really hard at this, and she has big goals at the end of the season. So hopefully we're gonna achieve those. And I say we. I got my hands on that too. He's going to ask a net question, isn't he?
I'm going to go back to Kurt's bait there. That's 2 games in a row where you win and either drop or stay the same, and the team you beat rises.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And on the men's side, they're handing out 4 or 5 different metrics to the selection committee to go over. And I think from what I read, net's the only one that's really used for the women. Like, hey, I know you're a stat guy. Like, are there other things that you think ought to be going into that room, or you know, should they consider net and RPI, or get back to?
Yeah, look, the net straight up is there's no doubt about it. It is to enhance high major schools' chances to be in the NCAA tournament. That is it. That's why they made it. It does not help us. I think if this is another year and you're just looking at RPI. Now, I remember some teams like Missouri State's men's team a long time ago, their RPI was like 21 and they didn't get in, or something crazy like that. It was like the worst snub in the history. But I think there's so many things that factor in. And, if you really look at that net, there's some teams with like losing records that are higher. It's crazy. No, I don't know the answer, Shane. I really try to stay in my lane with it because I don't want it to frustrate me, right? I don't want it to frustrate our kids. But I think you look at what we've done, and if we can continue to do it and finish strong, I think it's an NCAA tournament team. And I wouldn't have said the same thing last year. We lose 5 games in conference last year. No, we're not an NCAA tournament team unless we win the conference tournament. Like, this is more of like look at what we've done. We scheduled hard, right? And right now we have one loss outside of Quad 1, which is Northern Arizona, neutral floor in overtime. I'm still mad about that game because we had 2 chances to win it. But I don't know what else you should bring. I think it should be RPI. I think it should be how it's hard because I know net takes into account your efficiency, but to what level, right? I don't know the answer to that. Like, you're telling me they're really looking at efficiency when they're comparing, let's say, us with Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech they had a big win yesterday, but a bubble team, right? And they're looking at us and Virginia Tech, and there's no names on the top of that. They're not looking at efficiency. No way. They're looking at your quads, and the quads are different for men than it is for the women. They're different ratings. So a quad 1 win is different. Anyway, yes, there should be more metrics. I don't know what it should be, but anything that helps us.